Hi, I'm Andrea Wang,
And I'm Jason Chin, and this is my cat Finn.
and
And
we are the
yeah,
author and illustrator of Watercress, a new picture book coming out from Holiday House Neil Porter Books in March 2021.
so Andrea, why don't you tell us a little bit more about what this book is about?
Sure. So, Watercress is about a young Chinese American girl who lives in rural Ohio in a mostly white town with her parents and her older brother. And they're driving in the car one day when her mom spots watercress growing by the side of the road. And she makes the whole family get out to gather it. And the girl is really embarrassed. She's really unhappy about collecting food from this muddy ditch. And she refuses to eat it when they serve it at dinner that night. And then her mom tells a story from her own childhood of growing up in China and how her family suffered through a famine. The girl comes to realize that watercress means something very different to her parents than it does to her. And the discovery, I think, brings her family closer together. So the story is semi-autobiographical. You know, my parents did make me collect watercress from the side of the road. I did grow up in rural Ohio, and I really did hate doing this because it made me feel like that weird foreign kid. You know, my parents were immigrants from China and experienced a lot of hardship there, but they also were very nostalgic about their lives there. They always wanted to go back and visit, but a lot of factors prevented them from doing so. So it's a very personal story for me in many ways. But Jason, when you read the manuscript, was there anything that you personally related to or that resonated with you?
Yeah, well, when I first read the manuscript, or when I read the manuscript, the first thing that came to mind from my experience was actually, well, it's my father's experience. So my grandparents on my father's side immigrated from China. And when my father was in, I think it was first grade, maybe kindergarten, first grade. He went to school at the beginning of the year, and the teacher, one of the first things she did was go around the circle and ask the kids what they had for breakfast. It was kind of a way to introduce the class to each other. And so the
Right,
kids
right.
said eggs and toast and cereal and Fruit Loops or whatever. And then they got to my dad, and he said "nuk byung," and everyone said, "What's that?" And he said, "I don't know. It's "nuk byung." He didn't know how to explain what it was. Um, he's just a little kid, and uh, he says they weren't like mean about it or anything like that. They just kept asking, "Can you describe it? Like, what is it?" It's minced pork. It's like a steamed minced pork, and sometimes has
Ooh.
water chestnuts in it. That my grandmother used to get up really early in the morning to make for my grandfather because he really enjoyed it. It reminded him of home. Um, but my my dad had this experience in school, and it really affected him. He came home, that day, and he said, "Mom, I don't ever want Nuk Byung again. I want to, eat
Oh,
American things. I want to eat, you know, Cheerios and Frosted Flakes and cereal, and no more Nuk Byung." Andrea, so many people in our country are talking about race and racism at this moment. And one of the themes that keeps coming up in these discussions is this question of uh, who gets to be American,
mm.
who gets to come to this country, and what makes someone American. Um, and, I know my Americanness has been questioned in the past. I don't know, but I would guess that yours has. I know my father's has. Um, so how can Watercress help children participate in this broader discussion of race and cultural background and what it means to be American?
Well, to borrow Rudine Sims Bishop's terminology, she wrote that wonderful paper on windows and mirrors. I think the book provides both a mirror for Chinese American and Asian children to see themselves represented in literature. And we all know how much representation matters. but it also provides a window for readers who aren't Asian to see how cultural background and identity can figure strongly in Asian American families. So there's a spread in the book. It's pages 8 and 9, and I don't actually have a physical copy of the book, so hopefully Holiday House will jump in here and show this spread. And it shows the family. They've pulled over to the side of the road after spotting this watercress growing. The text reads, "From the depths of the trunk, they unearth a brown paper bag, rusty scissors, and a longing for China." My parents loved living in the United States. I don't think they ever regretted immigrating here, but they also never forgot where they came from. And, I love how you illustrated these pages. On the left side, you have the rural, all-American, Midwestern setting, and then it merges into, on the right side, the Chinese village of the parents' memories. So I think the book can help spark discussions among students about the various places their parents or their ancestors are from, and maybe some of their own family traditions and how they originated in those places. I mean, if you think about it, the United States, we really are a nation of immigrants. But I believe that we're also all Americans. And I think that Watercress's themes about hardship and immigration and belonging can really help foster empathy for recent immigrants and refugees. It's, in my mind, a very timely story given the recent rise in anti-Asian and anti-immigration sentiment.
Right. I agree wholeheartedly.
And so actually these pages, returning to these pages that I just read as an example, this illustration style you used for Watercress feels really different from your other books, which, I mean, I don't know the terminology, but I describe them as being really incredibly detailed and realistic, almost photographically so. Can you tell us about the style you chose and why, and what were your goals as an illustrator for this book?
That's a great question, Andrea. So this story is all about memories. It's about your memories. It's about your parents' memories. And so memory was one of the big themes that I wanted to capture in the illustrations. I wanted them to feel like memories. It's also about two cultures coming together. So Chinese culture and rural Midwestern culture, American culture. And so I wanted the artwork to reflect both cultures. I tried different mediums. I tried working in pastel. I tried working on rice paper with brush and ink. I tried watercolor. I tried pastel on watercolor, on rice paper, and that didn't work at all. But I kept searching for something that captured the memory side of things and the cross-cultural side of things. I painted a lot of corn, and as I was painting, I hope that comes out. There we go. This is a painting I did. It's not far from my house. It happened to be August when I started painting, so it worked out well. The corn was tall. And as I was painting the corn, it occurred to me that corn was an important motif in this book. It was inevitable. I was going to have to put a lot of corn into the book, and bamboo could be a complementary motif to represent the Chinese side of things. Corn is such an iconic American plant. Bamboo is an iconic Chinese plant, but they share similarities. They're both grasses, and so those two motifs I thought would work well. And that's why on page 8 and 9, the corn bleeds into bamboo, and then you see the characters on either side.
I think it's a great story time book because it's actually about the power of telling stories. The mom's story about her childhood in China has this direct impact and raises the girl's awareness, and it brings this whole family together. And they have this kind of new understanding of each other, that, sense of peace and resolution and hope for the future that you were talking about in your illustration. And I think in a group setting like story time, especially in schools or library situations, I think the book can spark discussions about the children's own family stories. You know, kids always want to make comments about the book that they're listening to, right? But I think it would be really great to hear the children's own family stories. And I think it can spark discussions about the importance of knowing where we came from, our family history, what our parents' lives were like. I think maybe why this memory stuck with me so much is because I didn't really think of my parents as being people with lives, before I was born until then. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you everyone for listening.
Yes, thank you so much for listening. We hope you enjoy the book, and let us know over social media if you enjoy it. Thank you.
Okay, take care everyone.
Bye.